Now that you're somewhat familiar with solving systems using substitution, we're going to take this up to looking at situations in real life. So at the end of this video, you'll be able to solve a system involving a real-life situation, or semi-real life at least, using substitution. Alright, so we're going to start with example 1. It says Hannah has $9 in dimes and quarters. The number of quarters is twice the number of dimes. How many of each coin does Hannah have? Alright, the first thing that we're going to do in our solution is name our variables. We'll usually have an x and a y, or we could easily just have something else. Actually, I might even use I have dimes and quarters in the problem, so I think I actually am going to use that. So we're going to put D equals the number of dimes, and Q equals the number of quarters. And again, you could use X and Y, but when you have it stand for what it actually is in the problem, it's usually a little bit easier. Okay, it says to set up an equation dealing with the total. So altogether, she has $9 in dimes and quarters. And since $9 is a value, we want to think for each dime she has, what is each dime worth? It's worth 10 cents. So we're going to put 10 cents times each dime, plus the value of the quarters, which would be 25 cents, so 0.25 times every quarter, and we know that total is going to be $9. So that's our first equation. The second one, it says to set up an equation comparing the two values. It tells us that the number of quarters is twice the number of dimes, and I know the word is equal to, so the number of quarters, so Q is equal to twice the number of dimes. So twice the number of dimes would be 2D. We now have two equations, so we now have 0.10D plus 0.25Q equals $9, and we have Q equals 2D. And then number 5, it says to solve using substitution. If I'm using substitution, my second equation is solved for Q, so I'll circle my 2D, which means in my first equation I'm going to cross off my Q, and 2D is going to go in its place. So I'm going to have 0.10D plus 0.25, and then next to the Q I'll put 2D instead, and then equals $9. And then from here we're just going to actually solve it. So I'm going to have 0.10D plus 0.25 times D. 2D would be 0.5D equals $9. And then 0.10D plus 0.5D will be 0.6D equals 9. And then to solve for D, we'll divide both sides by 0.6. So if I do that division, I will get 15. So D equals 15. So that means she has 15 dimes. And remember, we still need to figure out how many quarters she has. So we're going to come back up to our circle, and if we put 15 in for our D, 2 times 15 is equal to 30. So Q is equal to 30. So then it says, how many of each coin does Hannah have? I will say that Hannah has 15 dimes and 30 quarters. All right, let's try another one. Okay, example 2, I am thinking of two numbers. The larger number is 5 times the smaller number. The sum of the numbers is 54. What are the numbers? So I would like you, if you can, either try the whole thing or do each step and then watch to see if you get the same thing that I did, to see if we can get through it. So we've got two numbers. We've got a larger number and a smaller number. So I'm going to put L equals the larger number, and we'll put S equals the smaller number, and we'll try not to confuse that with a 5. All right, set up an equation dealing with the total. So let's see, the sum of the numbers is 54. So if I add the two numbers together, that means I'm going to get 54. So L plus S is equal to 54. And then it says to set up an equation comparing the two variables. Well, it tells me that the large number is 5 times the smaller number, and there is that keyword is again, so we'll put an equal sign. So the larger number, L, is 5 times the smaller number, so 5S. Right, now we have our two equations, so we're going to put them together. L plus S equals 54, and L equals 5S. And again, we'll star the one that is solved for a letter. So we have L equals 5S. I'm going to circle the 5S. That goes in place of the L. So instead of the L, we're going to have 5S plus S equals 54. And now we'll combine like terms. 5S plus S is 6S. And then to solve for S, we'll divide both sides by 6, and we'll get S is equal to 9, at which point we're going to go back into that circle and put 9 in. So 5 times 9 is 45. Okay, so the question was, what are the numbers? And I can just say the two numbers are 9 and actually this was not, this was L. 9 and 45. I could have said the larger number is 45, the smaller number is 9, but those are the two numbers. All right, so hopefully now you are able to solve a real life situation involving